Let me tell you something a lot of men learn too late in life. When a woman doesn't value you, she thinks you'll always be there. She assumes your patience is eternal, that your loyalty is her birthright, and that your silence is approval. But here's what actually hurts her the most. And I don't mean physically or dramatically. I mean emotionally, psychologically, deeply. You see, when you go silent, not out of spite, but out of clarity, it creates a level of emotional discomfort in a woman who never truly valued you. She's used to noise. She's used to men trying to explain themselves, trying to argue their worth, or trying to fix what she broke. She's used to emotional chaos, to texts that plead, to calls that beg, to long messages explaining how hurt you are and how she misunderstood your intentions. That's the pattern she's seen and possibly even come to expect. But when you don't follow that script, when you choose complete silence, it hits different. It throws her off balance. It disrupts her illusion of control. Your silence isn't just an absence of words. It's a message, a loud one. It tells her that you're no longer playing the role she assigned to you, that you're not going to argue, not going to prove, not going to chase. And that silence becomes the most uncomfortable sound she hears because it's filled with everything you didn't say. It leaves room for her imagination to fill in the gaps. And trust me, a woman's imagination is far more brutal to her than anything you could have actually said. She starts wondering what you're thinking. Are you over her? Did you move on already? Are you with someone else who appreciates you more than she ever did? Is your silence a reflection of your strength, or worse, your indifference? And that's when the tables begin to turn, because as long as you were reacting, she felt important. She felt in control, but your silence is a declaration. You no longer have access to my energy. That absence echoes louder than any words you could shout. And here's what's ironic. She might pretend she doesn't care. She might post as if she's living her best life. She might surround herself with distractions, friends, validation, even other men. But none of it silences the question in her mind, why did he stop talking to me? Because silence makes a person confront their own behavior, and when she sits in the quiet, the guilt creeps in. She remembers the disrespect, the games, the way she dismissed your loyalty, and now there's no emotional response from you to use as proof that you still care. That silence forces her to face something even more uncomfortable than your anger, your absence. A man's silence after being devalued is not weakness. It's power. It's maturity. It's a boundary that says, I've said and done enough. And for a woman who once had your attention on demand, who thought you'd never walk away, who believed she was the one deciding the terms, it's that silence that unsettles her soul, not because she loves you, but because she lost control. Because she misread your patience as weakness, because now you're not just silent, you're free, and that's what hurts her the most. When you stop trying to prove your worth to a woman who doesn't value you, it marks a turning point, not just in the dynamic between you and her, but in how you view yourself. Most men, especially those who are deeply loyal and emotionally invested, fall into a cycle of trying to make a woman see their value. They explain, they justify, they perform. They buy gifts, overextend their energy, become overly available, even suppress their own needs just to keep her interested or get a fraction of the affection they desire. But what they don't realize is that every time they do that, they slowly chip away at their own self-respect. And the woman, she's not moved by their effort, she's bored by it. Why? Because desperation is unattractive. Effort isn't the issue, it's the neediness behind the effort that repels her. When you stop trying to prove your worth, you're not becoming cold, you're becoming self-aware. You finally recognize that no amount of chasing can make someone appreciate what they refuse to see, and that realization is powerful, because for the first time your energy shifts inward. You begin to ask yourself deeper questions. Why am I trying to prove my value to someone who constantly overlooks it? Why am I seeking validation from a person who doesn't even understand my depth, my loyalty, or my intentions? Why am I placing my self-worth in the hands of someone who only sees me when it's convenient? This shift is more than emotional, it's spiritual. You begin to detach, not in anger, but in understanding. You no longer react to her distance. You no longer respond to the breadcrumbs. You no longer find yourself waiting for her to notice you, text you, choose you. That detachment makes her feel something she never expected to feel: powerless. Because you were the predictable one, the loyal one, the one who was always there no matter how she treated you. But now you've stepped back, and that void becomes obvious. Women are intuitive. She will feel your change before you ever say a word. She'll sense that your energy is no longer chasing her, and this new version of you, grounded, focused, unbothered, disturbs her, not because she suddenly sees your worth, but because she realizes she no longer controls it. You no longer look at her the same way. You no longer seek her attention, her approval, or her affection. You're no longer impressed by the things she thought made her irresistible, and that's when it stings. Because now she's faced with the question, was he really the problem, or was I just blind to what he was offering? Your withdrawal becomes a mirror she can't avoid. And in that reflection, she sees a man she underestimated, a man who finally chose himself over the idea of her. And nothing is more threatening to a woman who once held emotional power over you than realizing her grip is gone. You didn't shout, you didn't beg, you didn't explain, you simply stopped performing. And in doing so, you shattered the illusion that she was the prize you had to earn. Because now you know, you were the prize all along. There's something deeply unsettling to a woman who didn't value you when she sees you evolve, when she watches, from the sidelines, the man you've become without her. This evolution doesn't happen overnight. It starts with quiet decisions, small internal shifts. You begin working out not just to look good, but to reclaim discipline. You start dressing better, not for attention, but because you now understand the way you present yourself is a reflection of your mindset. You speak with more confidence, not because you're faking it, but because you're no longer seeking to be understood by people who couldn't appreciate your depth. She sees the changes in pictures, in the way you carry yourself, in the tone of your voice when you speak, even in the silence you keep. You've become sharper, focused, more grounded. She notices how other people respect you, how women now look at you with admiration in their eyes, something she stopped doing long ago. And that's when a subtle but powerful shift occurs inside her: regret. Because nothing disturbs a woman more than realizing the man she overlooked has now become the man every other woman wants. She never thought you'd rise. In her mind, you were supposed to break down, fall apart, spiral into confusion without her presence. She believed her absence would shake your world, but what she underestimated was your ability to turn pain into fuel. While she was expecting you to text her in desperation, you were in the gym. While she assumed you'd sulk in silence, you were building your empire. While she moved on to temporary attention, you built long-term confidence. That realization doesn't just surprise her, it wounds her ego, because now she's faced with a truth she wasn't ready for. She didn't just walk away from you, She walked away from the potential asterisk of who you were becoming. And that truth stings. She told herself the story that you weren't enough. But now, watching you evolve, she can no longer believe that lie. She has to confront the idea that maybe you were always enough. She just didn't have the emotional maturity to recognize it. Maybe she was never equipped to walk beside the man you were becoming, and now she's locked out of a world she once had front row access to. It's painful for her to realize that the same man she took for granted now walks in rooms and commands respect. That the emotional stability, the loyalty, the focus, the energy you once gave to her freely is now being directed inward and upward. You've leveled up in ways she didn't anticipate, and what hurts her the most is that asterisk. None of it required her asterisk. You didn't glow up because of her. You did it in spite of her absence, and that makes her question her own judgment. That forces her to see that she was wrong, not just about you, but about what she thought she wanted. And here's the irony, now she sees the man she always claimed she wanted. A man with presence, with purpose, with power, but now he's out of reach. Now he's unavailable. Now he's emotionally detached, no longer interested in entertaining the woman who once doubted him. And she knows, deep down, that she'll never get to experience this version of you. That opportunity has passed, and that is what haunts her when she sees you evolve without her. When you show no bitterness, just peace, it confuses her in a way that anger never could. Most women expect some level of emotional fallout when they mistreat or undervalue a man. They expect rage, they expect emotional outbursts, they expect desperate attempts to restore what was lost, because those reactions confirm something for them, that they still have power over you, that you're still emotionally tied to them, that even though they disregarded you, you're still circling them like a satellite, unable to break away. But when you don't react like that, when you don't scream, don't chase, don't even try to make her feel guilty, it disrupts the entire script she had written for you. Peace is not passive. It's not weakness. It's not avoidance. It's strength restrained. It's clarity, maturity, and emotional discipline all rolled into one. It's a man who has processed his pain in silence, who has confronted his own wounds and decided not to hand over his dignity for temporary validation. Peace says, I've already said everything I needed to say in the way I carry myself. I don't need revenge. I don't need explanations. I don't need closure. And that unsettles her, because now there's no emotional anchor holding you to her anymore. You've detached, and it shows. She scrolls through her phone expecting some message from you. Nothing. She checks her socials thinking maybe you posted something indirectly about her. Nothing. She talks to mutual friends, hoping for an update that shows you're still somewhat affected. Still nothing. That absence of chaos becomes deafening. It's not just that you're silent. It's that your silence carries peace, not pain. You're not sulking. You're not bitter. You're building. You're healing. You're focused. And that unnerves her, because she assumed she was the center of your emotional world. Now, she's realizing she was just a chapter in your story, not the whole book. And here's the deepest part. Peace is something most people only experience after growth. It's not something you can fake. She can sense when a man is pretending to be over her versus when he's truly free. Real peace has a different energy. It's calm, grounded, unwavering. It's found in the way you walk, the tone of your voice, the smile that no longer carries weight from the past. That's what shakes her, because if you were angry, there would still be hope for her to come back. If you were bitter, she could still feel important, but peace tells her she's no longer in your emotional equation. And now she's the one unsettled because the power she once held over your emotions has evaporated. You're not throwing jabs, you're not seeking attention, you're not posting about being better off. You're just living, growing, thriving, and that scares her more than any revenge you could have planned, because now she realizes you didn't just get over her, you transcended her. You went to a level she can no longer access. And the door to your world is closed, not with hate, but with grace. Peace is the final form of detachment. It's what happens when a man outgrows the person who couldn't see his worth. It's the quiet confidence that says, I'm no longer available for your drama, your indecision, or your inconsistency. It's the type of energy that makes her reflect, not just on what she lost, but on why she lost it. And in that reflection, she feels something she never expected to feel when she dismissed you: regret. Seeing another woman admire you for what she ignored is one of the most profound and piercing experiences for a woman who once dismissed your value. It strikes directly at her ego, not because she suddenly feels love for you again, but because it exposes her misjudgment. She thought you were average. She assumed you weren't that special. She told herself you were just too much, too emotional, or too available. But now she watches another woman light up in your presence. Another woman smile when you speak, laugh at your jokes, show appreciation for your efforts, and genuinely value the qualities that she once brushed aside like they were insignificant. And in that moment, the illusion she had built around your worth begins to collapse. At first, she might pretend she doesn't care. She might even mock or minimize the new woman's interest in you, thinking, asterisk, she doesn't even know the real him, asterisk, but deep inside, she feels a growing discomfort. Because the truth is that new woman sees something in you that she couldn't or refused to acknowledge, and every compliment, every touch, every moment of admiration between you and the other woman becomes a mirror, reflecting all the moments she failed to appreciate you when she had the chance. The admiration hurts because it's effortless. This new woman isn't being coached or begged to see your value. She sees it on her own, and that truth is haunting, because it confirms something the previous woman tried so hard to deny. You were always worthy. You were always capable of love, of leadership, of strength. She just didn't recognize it when you offered it to her freely. But now, watching someone else cherish what she once took for granted, she realizes she was never the prize asterisk you asterisk were. This experience forces her to confront the painful realization that value isn't determined by who acknowledges it first, but by who can sustain it over time. And now, you're not just desired, you're being asterisk chosen. Asterisk chosen without conditions, without games, without emotional manipulation. The new woman doesn't need you to jump through hoops. She accepts your presence as a gift, not a transaction, and that acceptance exposes the emotional immaturity of the woman who let you go. It's also a matter of contrast. She starts to compare herself to the new woman, whether consciously or not. She notices the glow on your face when you're with someone who appreciates you. She notices how you've grown more confident, more articulate, more selective. That evolution, combined with the admiration of another woman, creates an emotional cocktail of jealousy, shame, and disbelief. Because what she's really mourning isn't just the loss of you. It's the loss of being the center of attention in a life that's now thriving without her. Sometimes she may try to subtly insert herself back into your life, liking your posts, reaching out with casual texts, or trying to spark small talk, just to see if she still holds space in your heart. But it's not love motivating her, it's ego. It's the fear of being replaced. The fear that someone else is now experiencing the version of you she thought would always belong to her. And when you don't respond with the same energy, when you remain unshaken by her attempts to re-enter your orbit, the pain intensifies, because now it's clear you're no longer emotionally available and she no longer matters in the way she used to. She may even spiral into reflection, going over old conversations, remembering your efforts, the things you did to make her feel special, the nights you listened, the sacrifices you made, the loyalty you gave. And now she sees someone else receiving that level of devotion. Only this time the difference is clear. The new woman reciprocates. She gives back, she uplifts, she nurtures, and in that reciprocity your value shines even brighter, and the woman who once dismissed you can do nothing but watch from the outside, carrying the weight of what could have been. Realizing you never needed her to begin with is one of the most painful truths a woman can confront, especially when she's the one who undervalued you. During the time she had access to you, she mistook your presence for dependency. She believed that your consistent communication, your availability, your emotional support, your effort to make things work, all of it, came from a place of need. She thought you needed her to feel whole, to feel like a man, to feel seen. But she didn't understand that your love was a choice, not a lifeline. It was offered out of abundance, not desperation. You weren't trying to fill a void with her. You weren't incomplete. You were simply generous. You gave because you had plenty to give, not because you were starving for her attention. You included her in your world because you believed in connection, not because you were incapable of walking alone. But she interpreted that kindness as weakness, that attention as desperation, and that emotional openness as dependency, and that was her critical miscalculation. When you walk away and your life not only continues but improves, when your peace deepens, your confidence sharpens, and your vision gets clearer, it becomes undeniably obvious that you never needed her to begin with. That revelation doesn't just surprise her, it shakes her identity, because the narrative she comforted herself with was that she was the prize, that you were lucky to have her, that you somehow depended on her presence to define your worth. But now you're doing better. You've elevated. And all of it happened without her involvement, without her encouragement, and without her influence. She starts to look back at every moment when you gave more than you received, when you forgave more than she apologized, when you showed up for her when it was inconvenient for you. And suddenly, those moments aren't seen as signs of weakness. They're seen as proof of strength. Because now she knows, a man who needed her wouldn't have been able to walk away. A man who needed her would have come crawling back. But you didn't. You walked in silence, in dignity, in full command of your emotions. And that hurts more than any argument ever could. She realizes she was never your source. She was a guest in the home of your mind, your heart, your life. And you, being the host, treated her with care, with kindness, with presence. But she mistook that hospitality as helplessness. Now that the door is closed, now that the access has been revoked, she sees how rare your energy truly was. Not because you're flaunting your progress, not because you're trying to make her jealous, but because your life speaks for itself. Your glow, your calmness, your focus, it all radiates from a man who knows he is enough on his own. And here's what makes it even more painful. She knows you'll be that same solid foundation for another woman. A woman who will see you for what you are. A woman who won't mistake emotional intelligence for weakness. A woman who will return what you give, not drain it. That future, the one you'll share with someone who respects you, stands as a reminder of what she lost, not because she couldn't have had it, but because she didn't understand what she was holding when she had it. The truth that you never needed her forces her to reckon with something deeper than rejection. It forces her to face her own inability to recognize value. She starts to understand that you didn't walk away because you were broken. You walked away because you were whole. And she was treating you like a man who had no options, like a man whose worth had to be proven again and again. But now that she sees how full your life is without her, how undisturbed your peace is, how unaffected your spirit remains, she is left to wrestle with one thought that echoes louder than regret. Asterisk, he was never mine to keep. He was only mine to value, and I didn't. Asterisk, so in the end, the greatest pain a woman feels when she doesn't value you isn't caused by your anger, your revenge, or even your absence. It's caused by your evolution. It's caused by your peace. It's caused by the undeniable reality that you were never dependent on her love, her attention, or her presence. What hurts her the most is watching you become the man she never believed you could be without her. Strong, focused, respected, and desired. While she expected you to collapse, you elevated. While she expected you to chase, you chose yourself. And now, as she watches from a distance, what she truly mourns isn't just losing you. It's realizing that she never really had you, because she never truly valued you when it mattered.